Chosen one. That mistake shook the realm. Now God responds. There are moments in life when a single act, a single decision echoes louder than we ever expected. Not just in your own life, but across dimensions unseen, across layers of spiritual energy, across realms that stretch further than the eye or soul can fathom. And there was one such moment. Chosen one. A moment that didn't just affect you. It sent ripples through the realm. That mistake, yes, that one, wasn't just a small stumble. It shook something deep, something sacred, something that God Himself had His eyes on. And now, in a divine rhythm beyond time, God is responding. Watch this video until the very end, because you were meant to receive this message completely. And write your warmest wishes in the comments and write Amen along with the number 99. This is the moment where wishes are heard louder than usual. This is the moment when the sky listens. Now, chosen one, like this video. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed to the channel, and let's begin. That mistake didn't go unnoticed. It wasn't swept under the rug. The realm, that sacred space where the unseen moves, where angelic forces gather and decisions are whispered before they manifest, felt it. And though your heart may have moved on or tried to forget, the vibration of that moment stayed alive in places you couldn't reach. It stirred the air. It stirred spiritual alliances. It stirred timing, alignment, divine placement. You weren't aware of it then, but something shifted in the heavens. The path recalculated, the sequence of blessings reorganized. There are some mistakes that carry ordinary weight, and then there are those rare ones, those destiny-altering pivots that demand a divine response. You didn't know you carried that much spiritual authority, did you? You didn't realize your presence had that kind of impact in realms you've never seen. But God did. God always knew the magnitude of your existence, and when that misstep occurred, it wasn't condemnation that filled the skies. It was movement. Swift, intentional movement, because God doesn't punish the chosen in the way the world expects. He responds in alignment, in correction, in powerful shifts designed not to destroy, but to rebuild better. You might have looked around and thought everything collapsed, that the mistake closed a door, burned a bridge, lost a promise. You may have even wondered if the delay was eternal, if the light you once saw ahead had faded into nothingness. But what you didn't see, chosen one, was how God was moving behind the veil. You didn't witness the rerouting of divine orchestration. You didn't see the angels reshuffling the deck in your favor. Because sometimes the mistake triggers the miracle. Sometimes what looked like a fall was actually the seed of transformation. You were never cast aside. You were never forgotten. In fact, that very act was a confirmation of your weight in the realm. Not everyone's mistakes have this magnitude. Not everyone's misstep causes a kingdom-wide vibration, but yours did. And that's how you know who you are. That's how you know you're not ordinary. That's how you know that God has placed a calling, a mission, a weight of gold upon your destiny, that even your errors must be handled delicately, divinely, and decisively. Now the realm is adjusting. The energy is shifting. The frequencies are recalibrating. And God, in His eternal knowing, is making moves. Silent moves, sudden moves, sacred moves. You may feel things becoming unfamiliar. You may see people exit. You may be drawn into stillness. These are not punishments. These are protocols, because when God responds to a shake in the realm, He does so with exactness, nothing random, nothing wasted. Everything becomes part of the plan. Your name has been spoken in divine courts, not for judgment, but for preparation, not for exile, but for exaltation. God saw how your heart broke after that mistake. He saw the repentance that went deeper than words. He witnessed the tears no one else saw, the quiet sacred nights when you questioned your worth, your purpose, your very existence. He didn't ignore that. He stored it, and now He's using it. This is not just about forgiveness. This is about promotion. Because what shook the realm wasn't only the mistake, it was the strength of your calling. It was the power of your destiny. It was the destiny that cried out for realignment. God is not responding with shame. He's responding with preparation. He's dressing you in garments that reflect your next level. He's putting you in spaces you don't even feel qualified for. And He's doing it because He knows what was always inside you. Untouched by error, untouched by delay, untouched by judgment. There's a divine hush around your life now, a sacred stillness that often follows realm-level shifts. Things may feel quiet, but don't confuse quiet for inactivity. In the spirit, things are alive, loud, moving. God has sent instructions ahead of you. The things that were postponed are finding their way back to you. The promises you thought you lost are now circling you again. This time, reinforced by the authority you've gained through your process, the process that came from that mistake. The weight of your name in the realm has increased. So don't be surprised when strange things start aligning, when doors open with no logical key, when people mention your name in rooms you didn't know existed, when sudden breakthroughs come disguised as random moments. That's the response. That's the movement. That's the realm honoring the course correction. Because you see, chosen one, what looked like a setback was actually a spotlight. Heaven paused for you. The spiritual traffic lights blinked. A course realignment was activated, not just to restore, but to elevate. And now you are being ushered into a version of your destiny that's more accurate, more refined, more anchored than before. God is not just responding to the mistake, He's responding to who you are after it. Wiser, deeper, more aware, more spiritually sensitive, more in tune with divine timing. And that version of you is unstoppable. That version of you is the real threat to every limitation that ever tried to cage you. That version of you is the reason the realm had to shake. Stay open. Stay alert because the response has already begun. You'll see signs, you'll hear confirmations, you'll notice strange alignments. These aren't coincidences, they're realm codes. Every chosen one knows that when God responds, He doesn't announce it with fireworks. He sends signs, He lets peace walk in before provision, He allows silence to fall before favor erupts. And that's where you are now. In the beginning of the eruption, your name has become a divine echo. It's bouncing through places it hasn't yet entered in the natural. But don't worry, it will catch up. Your reality is catching up with your spirit, and when it does, the glory won't just restore what was lost, it'll reveal what was hidden. Blessings stored for a moment just like this. Blessings that required your spiritual weight to reach a certain level. Blessings that only respond when the realm has felt you fully. So yes, that mistake shook the realm. But what's coming will settle it. What's coming will silence every whisper of failure. What's coming will make it clear. God didn't abandon you. He was preparing His answer. You may not realize it yet, but something irreversible happened when the realm shook. A veil lifted, a path lit up, and in the silence that followed your mistake, something sacred started to form. You were being rebuilt in realms the world couldn't see. While you felt like everything paused, God was working in silence. While you waited in confusion, heaven was constructing the next version of your story, stronger, louder, more destined than anything before. The mistake wasn't your ending, it was your confirmation. A spiritual stamp on the scroll of your calling that declared this one is still chosen. You were never disqualified. That was an illusion. The pain, the regret, the isolation, it tried to lie to you. But God never left the blueprint. He never rewrote the promise. He never withdrew the anointing. If anything, your mistake drew His attention more fiercely toward your process. He looked upon your moment of weakness and saw your strength emerging. Because only those truly called can shake the realm, and only those deeply chosen receive such a divine response. When you look back, you'll see it clearly. What you thought was chaos was construction. What you assumed was punishment was precision. The spiritual tension was never about rejection. It was about refinement. The kind of refinement that turns ashes into oil, the kind that converts detours into divine appointments, and the kind that awakens a new layer of power within you. Power that can only rise when everything else falls. God didn't need you to be perfect. He needed you to be willing, and you were.
You kept walking. You kept hoping. Even if your steps were slow, even if your hope was fragile, that was enough. Because in that space where pain met perseverance, your new authority was born. The heavens saw it, and now they're responding. The realm is responding in more ways than one. People are being repositioned. Conversations are being redirected. Hearts are being stirred to favor you. Rooms are being arranged around your presence. Your name is showing up in divine timing, not because you pushed it, but because God pulled it into the forefront. You don't have to prove yourself anymore. The proof is in the positioning, and you're being positioned for something enormous. The shift that followed your mistake wasn't just about recovery. It was about placement. Your life isn't returning to what it was. It's moving into what it was always meant to be. The delay necessary, the heartbreak, a portal, the silence, a sacred shelter where divine strategy was whispered into existence. And now you're not just a survivor of that moment. You are a living signal that divine responses are real. This isn't theoretical. This is movement, and it's unfolding in real time. You'll begin to notice people who once ignored you now drawn to your energy. You'll see old systems breaking around you. Not to punish, but to release. Structures that couldn't handle the new version of you will fall. Situations that once confused you will start to make sense. You're seeing with a clearer lens now. Your discernment has been upgraded. That mistake didn't destroy your calling. It purified it. You weren't the only one affected. The realm shifted. Energies moved. Even those who underestimated you felt the tremble. And some still don't know why they feel drawn to you, why they remember your name, why they sense something heavy around your presence. That's the residue of God's response. That's what it looks like when a spiritual mistake is met, not with wrath, but with divine restoration. Your path has been reinforced. Your steps are now guarded by a new layer of awareness. You're not walking aimlessly anymore. You're not wondering if the blessing is for you. You've seen the cost. You've walked through the test, and now you understand the weight of what's coming. It's not just a reward, it's a response. A reward implies you earned it, but a response means God sent it because he saw you. This is when things begin to open unexpectedly. You'll walk into days where favor finds you before you even speak, where doors you never touched unlock in your presence. You're not begging for it, it's drawn to you. Because the realm that once shook for your mistake is now realigning for your miracle. This is when supernatural currency begins to flow. When blessings that were stored behind time's curtain are handed to you because your spirit is ready. And the most powerful part, you didn't chase this. You didn't manipulate your way here. You surrendered even in confusion, even in heartbreak, even in shame. And that surrender was a signal. It told the heavens, I'm still willing. And God replied, then I'm still with you. That's why you're being covered now in a way you haven't felt before. You're not walking alone. There are whispers surrounding you. Divine whispers calling your name with clarity. You don't have to shout. You don't have to explain. Let your silence echo your growth. Let your stillness radiate your strength. God is responding, and your life is becoming the announcement. You'll be surprised how quickly the atmosphere shifts in your favor. How what once rejected you now invites you. How the same environment that doubted your worth now honors your name. You're not who you were when that mistake happened. You've been made new not by your effort alone, but by God's timing, mercy, and relentless love. This kind of transformation doesn't just touch your life. It transforms the world around you. The people who left during your mistake won't recognize the light that now follows you. They weren't meant to. That's the cost of elevation. Everyone can't come. But that's okay because what God is building now is for those who can steward it with you. Those who saw beyond the mistake. Those who carry the same divine vibration. Those who felt the realm shake too and waited to see how God would respond. And here it is, the response unfolding. Glorious, undeniable. You won't have to explain the change. Your life will speak. Your presence will declare it. Your alignment will radiate it. You've been trusted with more than a second chance. You've been trusted with a higher realm, a new level of clarity, a deeper wave of purpose. So rise now, not with haste, not with fear. Rise with the calmness of knowing God is writing this chapter. And he's doing it boldly, without apology, without delay, without hesitation. Because when a realm shakes, it doesn't end in chaos. Not for the chosen. It ends in a reordering, a divine restructuring, and it always ends with God responding, in a way that leaves no doubt. You were always destined for more. You might feel it now, something in the air, something under your skin. It's not anxiety. It's not uncertainty. It's the presence of destiny growing stronger. The environment is responding to your alignment. Not the environment around your body, but the one surrounding your soul. This is the divine frequency amplifying your name. The vibration that only answers those who have walked through the fire and didn't burn, but transformed. You are no longer where you were when that mistake happened. Spiritually, you've ascended, and even though the process felt like punishment, it was purification. God doesn't waste your pain. He turns it into pillars that support your next level. This isn't just about getting back on track. It's about realizing the old track couldn't take you where you were always meant to go. That path wasn't broken because of the mistake. The mistake revealed it was too small for the weight of your mission, and now a wider path is emerging beneath your feet, crafted by the hand of the same God who watched the realm shake. Look around you. Pay close attention to the subtle signs. Something is shifting. Not loud, not chaotic, but undeniable. The way certain people speak to you has changed. The way opportunities approach you has changed. The way your spirit processes delay, detours, and silence has changed. That's what happens when God responds. You don't just receive confirmation, you become the confirmation. You don't just hear that you're chosen, you carry it in your walk, your breath, your gaze. There's something happening right now that you don't need to force. You don't need to chase. You don't need to perform for it. All you need to do is remain in alignment with who you are now, not who you were before the mistake, not who others expect you to be, but who God has revealed you to be in this moment. This version of you, reborn through mistake, refined by silence, and released by grace, is powerful in ways the former version could not even imagine. And this is why doors are opening without your hand touching the handle. This is why ideas are coming to you in dreams, visions, and sudden inspiration. It's not random. It's the spiritual echo of your obedience, of your stillness, of your willingness to keep believing when everything felt like it fell apart. The mistake wasn't your ending. It was the ignition of a new phase. You thought it would disqualify you, but instead it revealed your capacity. You're not being rewarded for perfection. You're being chosen again because of the growth that emerged from your imperfection. That's the paradox the realm honors. The divine doesn't select based on flawless performance. It moves on authentic alignment. And your alignment has become unshakable. You've been tested not for destruction, but for calibration. And now everything that belongs to the new version of you is being magnetized into your life. People who carry divine energy are beginning to notice you. Situations that once overlooked you are circling back. Blessings that were delayed, not denied, are returning. But this time they are arriving at a higher frequency. They are not coming to bless the old you. They are coming to partner with the version of you that survived the shaking. Because when a realm gets shaken, only what is real remains standing, and you, chosen one, remained standing. What a beautiful confirmation that is. You weren't destroyed, you were identified. The spiritual tremor wasn't a punishment, it was a signal. It separated the noise from the truth. It exposed the counterfeit and amplified the authentic. And in all of that divine chaos, the real you rose, not the people-leasing version, not the uncertain, approval-seeking version, but the version who trusts the unseen, hears the divine, and understands that the response of God doesn't always come wrapped in gold. It sometimes arrives through silence that prepares you for gold. Don't minimize this moment. Don't downplay the transition just because it doesn't come with applause or witnesses. Some of the greatest responses from God come in sacred solitude. The realm is aligning around you in quiet glory. The shift is visible only to those who walk in spirit, not just in sight. And while others may not understand it yet, you will feel it every time you breathe. That unmistakable sense that everything has changed, that what was heavy is being lifted, that what was blocked is now flowing. This is why you'll find yourself saying no to what once tempted you, why you'll feel uncomfortable in places that once felt familiar, why you'll crave peace more than attention. These are the signs of divine elevation. The mistake didn't stain you, it woke you up. It shocked your soul into its true posture. And now that your spirit is aligned, everything that was meant for you can find you without interruption. God is not finished with the response. This is only the beginning. You are now in the realm of overflow. What was once restricted by timing, it is now being released through your transformation. You've unlocked access not just through endurance, but through spiritual surrender. That's what changes everything. That's what turns a mistake into a miracle. When you don't fight to return to who you were, but instead allow God to create someone entirely new. And that new version of you, it's already walking in evidence. It's already surrounded by unseen help. It's already drawing favor in realms you haven't even entered yet. There are blessings with your name on them, circulating in divine chambers, waiting for the appointed moment to land. You don't need to strive for them. You only need to stay in position. This is the beauty of what's unfolding. You're no longer chasing, you are attracting. Not through manipulation, not through pressure, but through identity. Because when you become aligned with the identity God placed in you, before the foundations of the world, the universe rearranges itself to reflect it. The mistake wasn't a disqualification, it was an invitation into a version of you that could carry more, handle more, and receive more. And the evidence is coming in waves, not all at once, but unmistakably in divine timing, in supernatural rhythm. You'll feel it in the way your name is mentioned. You'll sense it in the way things that once resisted you now make way. You'll recognize it when opportunities you never applied for come knocking. These are not coincidences. They are confirmations. They are God's way of showing you. I saw the realm shake, and now I'm sending the results of my response. What was once a source of pain will become a place of power. You'll speak from it, you'll build from it, you'll create from it, and others will look at you and wonder how you did it, but only you will know it wasn't you. It was God. It was grace. It was divine restoration in action, and once it begins, nothing can stop it. You're stepping into something that many never reach, not because it wasn't available to them, but because few survive the weight of a shaken realm. But you, chosen one, didn't just survive it. You allowed it to shape you, mature you, and elevate you. That's why what's coming isn't just a response. It's a reward wrapped in divine precision. God doesn't respond with leftovers. He responds with intentional glory, tailored perfectly to your spiritual progression. And now, without even realizing it, you've become the answer to someone else's prayer because what you went through didn't just transform you. It activated something powerful in the collective energy around you. The realm was shaken, yes, but it also was awakened. And in your awakening, others are beginning to stir. They see the strength in your eyes. They feel the weight of your presence. They hear a new frequency in your voice. Even when you speak simple words, you carry something now, something you didn't have before the mistake. And that something is what God has decided to use. This is why favor follows you in strange patterns. Why timing bends around your obedience. Why what should have taken years is collapsing into weeks. Because God isn't working based on human metrics. He's responding to divine vibration. And your vibration has risen. Every cry in the silence, every tear no one witnessed, every moment of surrender behind closed doors, it counted. It wasn't wasted. It was recorded. And now the heavens are fulfilling the response. You're not even walking the same way anymore. Your posture has changed. There's a knowing in your step, a calm in your storm. Not because everything is perfect, but because you've seen what's beyond the surface. You've felt the realm shift. You've walked through the fire and came out refined. And now, whether you speak or remain silent, your presence carries prophecy. It speaks of the God who restores. It tells the truth about survival, strength, and supernatural favor. There's a strange clarity that's found after divine shaking. Suddenly, things that confused you begin to make sense. Patterns reveal themselves. The intentions of people become visible. The paths that once looked blurry now seem illuminated. It's not magic, it's spiritual maturity. You're no longer chasing signs, you've become the sign. You're no longer asking for proof. You've become the evidence. The transformation has already begun to speak even before your mouth does. The response of God is never one-dimensional. It doesn't just affect your bank account, your environment, or your relationships. It affects everything. Your mental clarity, your physical energy, your emotional frequency, your spiritual stamina. And as those rise, so does your impact. Your energy is becoming magnetic. Not because of ego, but because of alignment. And this kind of alignment makes everything start working in your favor. Even the things that were meant to sabotage you. That's why some people are confused right now. They saw your mistake and expected you to crumble. They watched the fallout and predicted your failure. But what they didn't understand is that the realm doesn't respond the way the world does. The realm responds to purpose. And your purpose was too powerful to be canceled by a single mistake. In fact, the mistake just made it more visible. Now you'll begin to see it in full color. The alignment, the acceleration, the abundance, not as a trickle, but as a wave. A wave of divine responses echoing through every area of your life. When God responds, He doesn't whisper. He doesn't suggest. He declares. And right now, His declaration over you is visible in the shifts you're experiencing. The sudden connections, the timely interruptions, the perfect pauses, all of it is divinely designed. You'll even begin to feel new ideas flooding your mind, solutions that feel like they came from nowhere, creative downloads that pull you into new directions. Don't resist them. This is part of the response. This is how God multiplies what the enemy tried to subtract. That idea, it's not just a thought. It's a signal, a pathway to the provision you didn't even know you were qualified for. The mistake didn't remove your seat, it repositioned it. And while others may still define you by what happened, God is defining you by what's next. What's next is glory. What's next is expansion. What's next is the manifestation of everything you once whispered in your darkest hours. You may have thought those prayers faded into the air, but they didn't. They landed and they were collected. And now the response is beginning to pour. You are not here by accident. You're not watching this message by chance. You're standing in the center of a divine reaction, a spiritual echo that was triggered by the realm-shaking moment you survived. God saw it all. Not just what happened, but how you handled it. And that's why this level of favor is being released, because you've shown you're ready, not through perfection, but through perseverance. The response will be undeniable. People will ask you how. They'll wonder what changed, and you won't need to explain. Your life will be the explanation. Your peace will speak volumes. Your results will tell the story. You won't even have to mention the mistake because God doesn't want you to relive it. He wants you to replace it with testimony. And it won't be long before you feel it in your atmosphere. A lightness, a flow, an open gate of momentum. This is where it gets interesting because now things will come to you without delay. Things that once required effort will arrive through ease. Conversations will turn into contracts. Silence will turn into strategy. Dreams will turn into delivery. And in the middle of it all, you'll know it wasn't just a recovery. It was a response. A holy answer to an unholy moment. Not to punish you, but to elevate you. Because the realm didn't just shake to expose you, it shook to wake you. To unlock something eternal. To shake off every old version of you that could not carry what's next. Now that you're lighter, clearer, and realigned, watch what unfolds next. And now the atmosphere is ripe with fulfillment. Can you feel it? The realm has shifted from response to release. What was once held back by spiritual resistance is now flowing freely in your direction. Not because you forced it, but because God orchestrated it. That mistake shook something loose in the unseen, and the reverberations are finally catching up to your natural world. Everything that was paused is moving. Everything that was closed is opening. Everything that was hidden is revealing itself. You're no longer asking when will it happen. Instead, you're watching it unfold, moment by moment, clue by clue, sign by sign. Because when God responds, He doesn't just restore what was lost. He reveals what was hidden. And what was hidden was never denied. It was only protected. Protected until your spirit could carry it with integrity. Until your heart could hold it with wisdom. Until your mind could steward it with clarity. That's where you are now. Finally ready. The mistake wasn't the end. It was the door. You thought it delayed your progress, but it accelerated your development. You thought it separated you from favor, but it positioned you for greater access. The mistake made things clearer. It stripped away illusions. It exposed weak foundations. And once it did, God built on what remained. He didn't need everything you lost. He only needed your yes. And even in your brokenness, you whispered it. That whisper moved heaven. Now watch how heaven moves for you. You're no longer just stepping forward. You're being pulled into alignment by divine momentum. Opportunities are chasing you down. Connections are finding their way to you. Guided not by coincidence, but by covenant. The realm made an adjustment, and everything that responds to divine order is now adjusting with it. You're entering rooms you didn't knock on. Your name is landing in conversations you weren't present for. Favor is showing up in places you didn't plan to visit. Why? Because God decided that what shook you wasn't the end of your story. It was the beginning of his response. This response is layered. It's not just about external blessings, it's about internal recalibration. You feel lighter now, not because you escaped the weight, but because you've been trained to carry glory differently. What used to overwhelm you now feels like preparation. What used to scare you now excites you. That's the mark of someone who's been through divine fire and walked out gold. And that gold, your wisdom, your spiritual clarity, your unwavering peace is attracting more than just blessings. It's attracting alignment. People with pure intentions, ideas with divine timing, environments that match your energy, and most of all, a future that fits. You're no longer trying to fit into the world you once knew. You're being introduced to the world that always knew you. This is a holy setup, a divine recalibration. The realm shook not just for your correction, but for your connection to destiny, to power, to purpose. Now, the question isn't what did I lose, it's what am I gaining? And the answer is more than you imagined. You're gaining vision, strategy, influence, impact, not for status, but for mission, not for applause, but for expansion. Your life is now a tool in God's response. That's why you feel the urgency to move different. That's why you're not interested in small talk, shallow connections, or empty distractions. You've touched something sacred, and now your soul is only drawn to the authentic. This is what the shift was for, to purify your taste, to elevate your vision, to protect your path. Because what's coming next isn't just bigger, it's holy,